Today I'm going to share with you guys some of the best productivity hacks I have found. I'm 19 years old with a business turning over around about £5,000 a month. Also creating a personal brand whilst working out 5 times a week, and I'm trying to create another business on the side. I have to say I think productivity is one of the biggest things in business, how you manage your time correctly to make the most of your days and get the best results. So today I will talk you through some of the best productivity hacks I've found and the science behind them of why they work. The last one on the list I think is the best. It's a little unorthodox, but we'll get to it later. The first productivity hack is something that most people don't even think about, and it's actually to do with your meals. If you guys have a high carbohydrate meal first thing in the morning before you work, what happens is your insulin levels go shooting up really high, your blood sugar levels don't return to normal, they actually go below the baseline what they were, and what that means is it leads to brain fog, and it really does not help your concentration levels at all. So what I like to do is in the morning either just have a black coffee before I work, and then after my work session it's almost a reward to have that carbohydrate meal. So it almost fuels my work knowing I have a big meal waiting for me. That personally helps me. If you get hungry in the mornings, what you can do is have a low carbohydrate meal, get some omega-3s, that's really good for your brain, maybe some natural yogurt, some fruits, just not, sugary carbohydrate filled cereal or a big bowl of even things like oatmeal, really high in carbs. And what that does is it makes you quite sluggish, really bad brain fog, and it really doesn't help you get on with deep work. So for me, I have it after my work, and that also kind of motivates me to get on with it. The faster I get it done, the more I can reward myself. And in the morning, maybe try it, but a fasted brain, for me, I work a lot more efficient having not eaten anything, just a black coffee. Step number 2, this one can be quite hard. It took me a while before I could actually do this, but it's not going on your phone for the first 15 to 30 minutes of the day. So as soon as you wake up, most people go on their phone, start scrolling. What this does, it also wastes time, but that's not the main thing, is it also increases your cortisol and dopamine levels throughout the whole day. Your natural cortisol levels are going to be slightly higher, making your concentration a little bit harder, and your dopamine levels will also be elevated first thing in the morning. And that just means that when you're working, you might get food cravings, you might want to scroll on your phone more, might want to listen to music, flicker. You're not going to have them deep concentration work hours. For me, what I do is a really good one is have a coffee, stand outside, get the fresh air, helps your circadian rhythm and calms everything down. If I do that before I go on my work, before I go on my phone, it really helps. And I have to say with this one, I do notice I have a lot more productive work sessions if I make sure I don't go on my phone first thing in the morning. What you can do is, instead of setting an alarm right by where you're sleeping, is I put it on the side just there. So when my alarm goes off, I have to actually get out of bed, pick up the phone to stop the alarm, and what that means is I'm not just going to start scrolling in bed. So that's a good trick you can implement pretty easily. The third one is hydration. So after you've been sleeping, obviously you haven't had no fluids. What I do to start my morning off is I drink 1 to 2 cups of water. I'm guilty of this, but you also should ideally not have coffee first thing in the morning. If you have it later on, maybe 30 minutes before you wake up, it is a much smoother energy process. Also, having caffeine first thing in the morning can lead to a bit of dehydration. So what I would do is to hydrate properly, drink 1 to 2 cups of water. You can sprinkle a bit of salt in there to get the electrolytes. I don't do that personally because my diet's got too much sodium in anyway, but that is a good trick to get hydrated. If you're dehydrated whatsoever, even not severe at all, if you're slightly dehydrated going into work, there's studies done and it shows such a decrease in productivity. So make sure you've been drinking fluids and you are properly hydrated before you go into any work. The fourth step, which a lot of people who work hard seem to forget, but it's so crucial, is your sleep. You need to make sure you're getting at least 8 hours of good quality sleep. And there's lots of things you can do which will help this. First off, as I said before, getting outside 15 minutes within waking up really helps your circadian rhythm, getting natural sunlight. Other things like not scrolling before bed, certain supplements like magnesium can put your body into sleep time mode, as well as things like hot showers. This really helps. I notice if I've had a bad night's sleep, I cannot focus the day after. Ruins like a good couple hours probably of productive work. Loads of things you can implement. I'll put a bullet point list on the screen of how to improve your sleep quality. Some of them is hot showers before bed. That actually lowers your internal body temperature, cools you down. Having a cool and dark room when you are going to sleep. Taking forms of magnesium. I would say stay away from magnesium oxide, as that is not very bioavailable for your body, so you don't absorb very much of it. Also, not having a meal, but give it 2 hours before you go sleep, so make sure you're not snacking right before bed. One that people don't realise is caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours. So if you have a coffee at midday, half of it's still going to be in your system by 6 p.m. That's the equivalent of obviously drinking half a cup of coffee at 6 p.m. What I do is I completely cut off caffeine anytime after 1 p.m. That is a big one. Even if you don't notice it, it will affect REM sleep, which is the main recovery time of your sleep. You want as much REM sleep as possible. So there are some key ones you can implement to increase that sleep quality. This is the last one, and it's also going a bit viral on social media, and I have to say I've tried it and it works amazingly. I've been doing this for the past maybe 3 months, but before any deep dive into any deep sessions of work, so if I'm going to work for 2 hours straight, something around about that time, what you can do is put your phone somewhere else, take your headphones off, stare at a white wall or a clock for 10 minutes straight, no distractions at all. So put a timer on your phone, 10-15 minutes depending on how long you're planning on working. You get in a seat and you just stare at a wall, nothing else. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, as long as you can. Don't get up until the time it goes off. What this does is your natural dopamine levels just go all the way plummeting down because you've got no stimulation whatsoever. And as soon as those 10 minutes are up, you go straight into work. And because you're no longer staring at a wall anymore, that work is super stimulating for your brain. So your dopamine is going to go shooting up, and it's so effective because then when your dopamine's high from working, it becomes addictive. You start looking forward to it when you're staring at the wall. Because your dopamine's increased, you're not even thinking of flicking through your phone or forgetting about the work. You're not procrastinating, you're getting straight on. And your concentration levels go through the roof. I have to say, I haven't looked a deep dive into science about this, but I have to give it a try before you start hating on it. Give it a go before your next long work period and let me know how you guys find it. But those are the 5 key things I do for productivity that helps me manage all of this. Even last year when I was doing A-levels whilst managing these businesses and managing to fit it all in, because actually you realise 1 hour of work that is in good concentration is more effective than 3 hours of work when you're flicking through your phone. So these things might shorten your work days, really help with those business ideas, and I hope they've helped.